So you summoned on the Melusine banner, you didn't get the little dragon, but you did walk away with this big muscle mommy that has 3 banging ascensions, and the first question that comes to your mind is, ZTL, is this character even any good? And I am happy to announce they're quite good. They're pretty dang good, and they're super flexible, but what do I mean by that? Well, you'll just have to strap in and get comfortable as we go down UDK Barghest, otherwise just known as Archer Barghest, Summer Barghest, whatever you want to call her. Grab a dumbbell, get your protein powder, or heck, just watch this while you're in the gym to have that be your summoning catalyst. Make sure you drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as I do be putting these videos out every single day, and it keeps you in the know on all things going on both the NA and JP side of things. But enough yapping, let's start diving into her kit, starting off with her hits. Now, she's rocking the pretty standard Archer deck, I would say. Double quick, double arts, pretty good for refund, pretty good for genning a couple of stars on the side, which, her being an art servant, is nice to be able to do. It means that even though she's only got 0.41% NP gain, those high 4 hits on both her quick and arts card are going to be refunding pretty nicely as long as you're able to land crits on those. Now, I know I did say that the extra attack is in a little bit of an economic collapse right now, but until the market decides if 5 is still the gold standard or maybe 6 is, we'll still shout it out that they did give her the 5-hit extra attack, which if you're not in the know is a composite card that gen stars NP and does big boy damage. And if you get enough coins going on this banner, you could open up her append 1 and make that extra attack, the omnipotent extra attack. Or you could go ahead and open up her 3rd skill and give her extra damage against rulers. Yeah, I guess if you need somebody to take down rulers, UDK Barghest can do that for you. Maybe you're just lacking in Avengers, but it's nifty if you really need it. But more times than not, I'm assuming most people are probably going to go for append 2, 4, or 5 because that's additional starting gauge, that's more crit damage, which she's already pretty good at doing, and it helps her with cooldown on the 5th skill, which she surprisingly has a bit of a niche in. Diving into her passive skills, we have some pretty neat ones. Much like the Ruler Melusine, we do have the Fairy Knight passive, so if we are going up against man attribute enemies, we only get 4% crit damage. I guess I didn't want Barghest to be too strong, didn't want her to outshine the main premier 5-star character, but instead they did give her an additional passive. Alongside Madness Enhancement and Magic Resistance, she's rocking Thundercloud Eater, which is not only a really terrifying name, but it's also really cool, very well deserving of someone like Barghest. And you'll see that she has a little bit of a niche for Burning Battlefield, which if she's on Burning Battlefield, she becomes immune to burns and spread of fire and refunds 5% of her gauge every single turn as long as that battlefield is active. So it does make her kind of interesting for certain nodes or stages, or even some boss fights where that might be kind of the gimmick, you know, anytime you fight a Mao Nobu or something. But it does bring up something that I'm still waiting for the day where we get a CE that just grants somebody permanent of whatever battlefield type. Like, say it's a CE that says you get water battlefield, 10% attack, 10% NP gain, and they just call it a day there. I would love to see some CEs that do stuff like that. To kind of turn skills like this on all the time, I would just be really interested to see if they would ever put those into the game. But that's a topic for a future video. Enough getting sidetracked, let's just start diving into her actual skills, starting off with skill 1, Union Defense Knights, which, if you were wondering, what does UDK stand for? There you go. Nasu, I see the vision. But this is quite strong. It's going to be giving her a 30% attack buff, which is a bit odd because usually when people have attack buffs, it's 20%. But because she's being selfish and is not using it as a charisma, I guess they saw it fit to give her the 30%. You know, she's big, she needs big attack. She also needs big crit damage, so we gave her 50% for 3 turns, and then she has an on-attack buff that whenever she attacks, she recovers 500 of the party's HP, and then she has a bonus that if you have a 3, 2, 1, or 0 star on the field, she gets an additional 20% attack and gens 10 stars every turn for 3 turns. And, well, she's an arts character. Are there any good low-rarity characters that you could use with Barghest? Oh yeah, that's right, this is literally not a restriction because of the existence of people like Jufu, Asclepius, and Paracelsus. So just make sure they're on the starting lineup when you pop this skill. Bada boom, bada bing, you're getting free bonus damage. Now, do note they have to be alive on the field, so if you're doing plug suit shenanigans, you could always just plug suit the 3-star in and then pop this skill after you've dumped your Castoria buffs or whatever shenanigans you're doing. But it's quite strong. It means that she can do some pretty decent damage, particularly as a single target character. I think her damage is pretty solid. And it's just the most free restriction of all time. It says, hey, you gotta use a 3-star character on your team, which normally, you know, might be a bit hard if this was a quick character. That actually might be something. because who are you going to use? Alexander? But Arts not only has the top rarities of the game dominated with their supports, but also the low rarities of the game dominated with their supports. So this is barely a restriction at all whatsoever. They just said, screw it, 50% attack buff for 3 turns and have some extra stars on top of already having double quick cards. But that's not where the nastiness ends. Moving on to her second skill, we have Queen's Keeper A. Hey, this is a queen you gotta hold on to. I see the vision, Nasu. This is going to be giving her a 30% battery, party invincibility except herself for 1 turn. It'll give your other party members a 3k heal, and then also reduce their skill cooldown by 1. Now this does not include herself, but these are very nasty effects. For one, the 30% battery is just good if you want to use her in any looping setups. You know, you want her to be your AoE farmer or your single target farmer, whatever have you. Just having a 30% battery is always going to be good. Extra team survivability is not really something that Arts needs, but they'll definitely take it because it does mean if you ever get caught or if they try to remove all of your buffs, you still have an emergency lifeline to keep your supports alive and also give them a nice little heal in case they got banged up along the way. And then also reducing the party skill cooldown is a bit nutty because all of the Arts characters are insanely good. It gets even better if you pair it with somebody like Tamamo, who also does this on her own NP, so they can both just be circle jerking around, giving each other skill cooldown, and you're just spamming skills all over the place. It can get really nasty very, very quickly, but the good kind of nasty, alright? I would never say that Barghest herself is nasty. In fact, I think she's quite pleasant. Anyway, moving on to her third skill, we have Strike Weather, and this is where she goes from just being, you know, maybe your average Arts character that releases the summer, to then being a nice flexible option. For one, she's giving herself 30% NP damage for 3 turns, broken, good with Oberon, you know the whole shtick at this point, but she has the ability to then change her NP damage to AoE or single target. So now you have a 2-in-1 servant that's not as wacky as, say, somebody like Tolmais, who's going to be coming out later on this year. I say a little wacky because that changes card type and whether or not they're single target or AoE. That can be a little finicky sometimes. Same thing for like Melusine if you've ever used her in challenge quests, that if you were using her as like an art single target, but then you had to pop a third skill because you needed extra damage, but then you didn't actually take out the enemy. Now all your Castorias aren't really doing anything for her aside just keeping her alive because they don't have buster buffs. There's none of these shenanigans, none of these weird corner cases you can run into, because she's either going to be an Arts AoE character, or she's going to be an Arts single target character. And looking at her NP, they both do the exact same thing. They remove all of the enemy's offensive buffs, and it cleanses them of their burn and spread fire status, while also giving herself a 20 to 40% Arts performance buff. Unfortunately, only for 1 turn, but I think if she was stacking, she'd actually be dummy nutty broken. She'd be a little too good. But then again, it's not like overcharge is that hard to get in art setups. You know, Lady Avalon, put the Castoria NP in front of Barghest NP. Pretty easy to do. But they kept it nice and simple. You don't have to juggle like 75 different effects between NP number 1 and NP number 2. They both do the exact same thing. It's just, what do you need? Do you need one enemy to get butt blasted, or do you want me to butt blast the entire enemy party? She can do either one for you, and that's why I think she's a really good pickup on the Summer Melusine banner. And she doesn't get invalidated even if you do pull Summer Melusine, because then she can just be your single target Arts character and Melusine can be your Arts AoE. She's just built in a very nice way. Now, obviously, there's no Pierce Invincibility or Pierce Defense, or we don't have some crazy power mod or anything along those lines. What you see is kind of just what you get with this character, but what you get is a pretty decent servant. I mean, even her bond CE is pretty good if you do want to make her your Grand Archer, which I think would be a really base decision, but that's neither here nor there. This is giving the entire party 10% Arts performance and an additional 10% if you're on a burning battlefield, so potentially 20% Arts buff if you bring them to the right battle, which is just more passive damage, more passive looping support for all of your Arts characters, just good stuff all around. And again, while I do think there are weaknesses you could point out in this character, maybe their NP gain could be a little bit higher, maybe they could have had, you know, defensive buff removal or Pierce Invincibility, sure hit, something along those lines, maybe a way to proc her own burning battlefield. But again, this is my conspiracy theory that I think they leave effects off of characters like this so they can buff them in the future. So for instance, they could just go to her third skill and that whatever you pop the third skill, like gives herself burning battlefield for 3 turns, like that might just be a buff she gets in the future. But look, that's just a ZTL Industries, you know, hidden insider secret. That's our conspiracy theory that they leave effects off of characters so they can buff them in the future. But even with all of that, she's really good. I mean, I didn't pull her when she initially came out, so when I was doing the gameplay, I was thinking, man, I only have the one Castoria to buff her with. I don't know if she's going to be able to loop, and then she just did it perfectly fine. We got her to do looping with just the one Castoria, and we were chilling, which obviously, yeah, art supports are really, really insane, so maybe it's not that impressive to do, but it does show you that if you do pull this character and you don't have Castoria, she can get the job done for you. She can still do the arts looping, if that's really something that you need. And then if you're going really hard on the banner because you're trying to get Summer Melusine, and you pick up a couple of copies of this character, then they just become a really decent beat stick, because they're just doing really solid damage. They're just doing pretty good crits, not as good as some of the high-end characters in the game, but she doesn't need to be. You know, she could just be a good character. So if you pull this character on the Melusine banner, or maybe you are going for them in particular, highly recommend leveling up this character. Not only are they an absolute babe, but they're also really good. So not you just get to look at a hot muscle mommy while also doing your farming and beating up people. That's just the best of both worlds. One thing I didn't mention is that her third skill makes her super large. I don't think there's any synergies with that. I think that's just a funny thing because she gets big in her NP, but if I miss something on that, someone in the comments could be like, well, actually, you missed the synergy with this random guy. Or maybe it's relevant for some boss fight where if you're bigger than the enemy, you take less damage. Who knows? But on that note, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video, as I do put these out every single day to make sure you have something FGO related in your sub box, and to make sure that you are up to date on the NA and JP side of the game. And if you want more of me, well, we got some stuff in the description you can take a peek at. For one, I stream every weekday. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is going to be FGO. Tuesday, Thursdays are kind of the flex days where if I'm really exhausted and there's nothing going on, I can just take them off. But ideally, I like to play stuff like Wuthering Waves, Star Rail, Arknights, all that good stuff. And that'll be over here on the YouTube and on the Twitch, just for whatever site you prefer. Maybe you just really hate YouTube, which is ironic because you're watching this video, but you're like, I want to watch the stream on Twitch. Then by all means, go over on Twitch. Or maybe you just hate Amazon, who I think owns Twitch, with a burning passion, so you're like, you know what? I'm gonna watch this on YouTube. By all means, do whatever makes you happy. We also have the Discord link down in the description down below, where if you have any further questions about FGO or just want to talk about lore and yap on about which waifu is the best. But a place where no waifu yapping is gonna go on is the Dokkan chat. That is something that I've been known to peruse every now and then. And I do see the comments of people saying, hey, when are you going to start playing Dokkan? I don't know, man. But if you want my thoughts and opinions on the game, you know, I do go into the Dokkan chat every now and then. You'll never find me in the Hoyoverse chat because I don't need no help playing Star Rail or Wuthering Waves or any of this stuff. I'll figure it out on my own. Don't recommend going in the Yu-Gi-Oh chat. It's just a place of scum and villainy, much like the Nikkei chat as well, but a different type of scum and villainy. And if you want to be a part of the secret shadow government that runs this channel, you can subscribe to the Patreon, which is also linked down in the description down below, where you gain access to exclusive Patreon videos, as well as a super secret hidden chat in the Discord, where you get to vote on videos that come out on Fridays when FGO is a little slow. Stuff like the random tier list or just lore yapping, stuff along those lines. If you want to be a part of that, that's in the description as well for you, but it's only if you have the means. It is by all means not necessary. Just watching the video, liking the video, listening to me yap is more than enough, so do not feel pressured to go do that. It's just for people that want to do that. But with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I'm tired of yapping. My throat hurts, so I'm gonna get out of here. You guys have yourselves a good rest of your day, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace, late guys.